No, I think what he's referring to is, I was gonna talk just for a second about the Kenny Arnold Classic and Kenny Arnold in particular. I mean, obviously, he was a critical part of some really good teams. Terrific player, and had some health issues subsequent to playing here. And I think one of the greatest examples of brotherhood that I've ever seen is how his teammates cared for him for 30 years. In particular, Mike Henry, but many others as well. You know, and the turnout, you know, for his funeral that of course we attended, and a huge Iowa presence there, but the entire basketball community in Chicago, you know, reflected, you know, what people thought of him as a person. I remember Coach Spiro, who was his teammate, either it was his teammate or was the GA on that staff. I can't remember the exact years, but it was very close to that whole situation. And he talked to the team about it. Well, we invited Kenny back when he was still alive, and he got really emotional about it. You know, and you could see how he remained, as did everyone else, connected to Kenny and the kind of person that he was. So, you know, we named an award after him that we're very proud of. We give that to at the banquet every year. You know, and want those individuals to exemplify, you know, the courage and character that Kenny had. So we're just proud to honor him and looking forward to the game.
All right, questions for Coach?
Fran, what went into that? Whose idea was it to make this the Kenny Arnold Classic?
Well, once we decided to kind of do our own tournament format, which we did for many years, as you know, and then kind of got away from it because
you brought a team for it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the MTE rules changed. So there's more people going to those events in various locations. And, you know, people don't do, or institutions, you know, don't do Christmas tournaments anymore.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot in those days. So, you know, once we decided to do this, you know, we talked about sponsorships and who we would recognize, and could think of no one better than Kenny. We talked about it, and it was very much appreciated by the guys that were on that team who were teammates of his. And they're all going to be here on Sunday. We'll have a reception with them.
Fran, when you bring in transfers to come and visit, you get all the new freshmen here. I mean, how much time do you really spend with them, teaching them about whether it be Kenny Arnold, whether it be Chris Street, and some of the important figures about Iowa, and just kind of showcase to them like this is what they mean to this community and the state?
You're right. It's different with transfers and then educating the young players. The guys that are here, the guys that follow the program, even when they were in high school and thought about coming here, they're aware. But we continue to engage our former players and make sure that these guys remember those who came before. Because as you all know, there were some great players, some great coaches, very, very proud tradition, going back many years. And we have guys come to show up at practice, and they know that they're welcome at all times. They come for a football game and they want to come to practice. It's encouraged, and you know, we take very seriously the interaction between those guys and our present players. So it's something that is constant. You know, we have you know, one of our former players, actually two, with Kyle Denning, you know, as our director of operations, former players on staff. And you know, so that's something that makes me proud, and something that I wanted to make sure from the minute I got here that it continued.
How do you go about finding MTEs now and maybe doing your own, as opposed to going to Vegas or that $1 million tournament, or, you know, different?
Yeah, we haven't been invited to that yet, so.
You'd like to.
That won't be complicated. But quite frankly, like, we're recruited to play, hey, come play in our event. And then you try to figure out what makes sense. Oftentimes they're in destination locations, warm weather places, the Caribbean, the Cayman Islands, Maui, all those kinds of places. Used to be Maui and Alaska, right? That was
Yeah.
it. And so we'll make some decisions based on, we will make decisions based more on who is in it as opposed to where it is. Do you want to go to a tournament that has 8 teams, or do you want to go to a tournament that has 4 teams, you play twice as opposed to 3 times? Make those kinds of decisions. What fits our schedule based on who else we have that year? And now that we no longer have the Big East and the ACC challenges, then we want to schedule up, and I'm really excited about where we're going this year with regard to, Moline, Kansas City, Sioux Falls. We have fan bases in all of those locations, so I think that's really good. And it gives us some flexibility as to who we want to play from various conferences.
Fran, I'm curious about the 4 spot starting Logie the other night. I know this is kind of the time of year where you can feel some of that stuff out. Do you think you're gonna mix that up with like a Seydoux or a Cooper in the starting lineup at any point, or?
It's possible. They're both playing really well. All 3 of them are playing really well. Logie's a little ahead because he was on the team last year. He knows what we're doing. Those guys will get there, but they're both really good players, and all 3 of them are different. So really, regardless of who starts, they're all going to play a lot.
There was early in the exhibition, like Seydoux was in basically at the 5.
Yeah, we just went with a smaller lineup. That was nothing by design. Yeah.
I was just curious about what you feel comfortable putting him in that spot.
I felt comfortable with that lineup that was on the floor. We had enough size, based on who our opponent was. So there's times we'll be able to do that, and times we won't.
Fran, Brock Harding's mentality just seems like he's already been through an entire college basketball career, just diligent with his work ethic. And you and he both kind of said that he didn't have his best game at his exhibition, but how important is it for a point guard to have that sort of discipline, to have that work ethic, and to understand the bigger picture, that there's so much more moving forward this early in his career?
I think it was really important to him to be a really good player last year, which he was, and to kind of grow into, potentially being a starter. He knew he had to earn it, and he's played extremely well from June until now. We don't expect perfection every night, but we expect him to be a floor general, expect him to engineer a victory. He doesn't feel the pressure to have to score, although he's always been a scorer, and so we'd love for him to score, but I don't want him to feel that pressure. We've got a lot of other really talented offensive players around him, and just knowing and understanding that. But I think his defense has really improved, his physicality. But you're right, his work ethic is unparalleled.